What up, world? Waxvillain, Seattle, Washington. You already know what it is. Welcome to Waxvillain Fireside Chat. We got greatness in the building, making his second appearance on Waxvillain Fireside Chat. The one, the only. I call him my brother, David Brocca, aka Toy Raider. Keep it locked. We'll kick things off real soon, y'all. Y'all ain't got the pink one, though. If you've been around for a while, maybe you got the gold one. Maybe you got the silver one. Maybe you got Tears of a Clown, or maybe you got the glow-in-the-dark variant. We're talking about it all tonight. David Brocca, a.k.a. Toy Raider. Keep it locked, y'all. Shout out to everybody on the line. What up, Crystal Marie? We see you. I see my soul sister, Rachel. Appreciate y'all being here tonight. Shout out to DJ XL. Mr. Bubbles, we see you, brother. I saw the message. Yes, we gotta make it happen. I'll get back to you tonight. Man, can we give a shout out to the lovely and talented Miss Rachel J. Houston? It's been a while since she's made an appearance. We miss Rachel J. Houston. We're so happy to have you here. Shout out to my brother Devin from Devin Sevens. Only the person I know calling the Tiny Record Sevens. I love that. We're gonna get Toy Raider in the building. Oh man, Boulevards is in the house. Everybody's pulling up tonight. My brother Ballhead Rick in the building. Man, everybody's here. I'm getting the usual message. Toy Raider's unable to join. We just navigate, bob and weave through the tech difficulties. Oh! Hey, Brocca in the building, y'all.
Hey.
It's a great day to be alive.
Is it?
Oh my goodness. David.
Wax.
Man, I think that was the backdrop when you did Fireside Chat #1.
Oh, but it's vastly improved.
Okay, I'm gonna take your word for it. I do like the lighting behind you. Man, let me tell you something. I feel like we went through war to pull off this live stream.
We did. Yeah.
Nobody knows.
Yeah, serious ailments, right?
Oh my God, man. COVID got the best of me for a second time. I'm back in the building.
Good to hear, man. Good to hear.
Oh, man. I'm so glad you're here. I'll go ahead and kick things off so we can get this party started. I want to welcome everybody to Waxvillain Fireside Chat. Fireside Chats are similar to interviews. However, we take time to do research. We want to make sure we're not duplicating efforts. More importantly, we want to support and strengthen what's already out there. Now, listen, y'all. When I came on the scene, when I was introduced to indie soul music, I'm watching. I like the goodies. I was the kid that I picked out my cereal based on the toy inside. And so naturally, as I was just so excited for the release of new Penrose 45s, it was a thing back in the day to get the color variants. Lo and behold, there was a surprise. The surprise was crazy. Not only did we get a visual, but we got this dope 45 right here known as El Triste. This was in the music video. We were introduced to Puppet Master. But what I took away from this, y'all, and David's probably heard me say this a lot of times, it's the idea of taking items like this and kind of going from visions to reality and making the music more fun, something that we can connect to. I've always talked about how the El Triste 45 adapters looked like a toy, and that was something that, you know, my daughter and I were able to connect on. We actually painted the El Triste adapter that you see up on the table there. But David Brocca is much more dynamic than that. I'm talking about an action figureologist. We're going to get into that. David, I hope you didn't think that we were going to skate by without talking about the toys. LA-based filmmaker. I'm talking Leaf Fields, I'm talking Los Yesterdays, but there's more. David had done a documentary, Knox Minds. There's a video called, was it Ninjas versus Clowns, which I was just tuning into,
Yeah.
and that was wild. But I want to encourage y'all to go out there and take a look at the work that David Brocca has done, because while we come to this space for the music, while we look out for the musicians and the labels and everything like that, there are so many talented individuals that really make this space what it is, which is a vibrant community. And so without further ado, I want to welcome David Brocca. It's been a while since we had him on a Waxvillain Fireside Chat, so naturally I wanted to catch up. He's added some more work to the portfolio, which we're going to talk about, and I want to get the vision on what this brother's seeing when he looks in the crystal ball. So David, welcome. Thank you for being here, man. I just want you to cover the basics. Tell us who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
I'm David Brocca. I'm from West Pittston, Pennsylvania. I reside in Los Angeles, California. Been here, you know, this is the longest place I've lived, so I consider myself a Californian now. I'm just really having a blast doing music videos, particularly in this scene, it seems. Nobody's Clown really kind of launched that. That was kind of, I think that was the last time we spoke, was right after Nobody's Clown.
Yeah.
Since then, I've done Who Made You You, Leaf Fields, Waiting on the Sidelines, and now Love is a Game for Fools, which is it's just like it's our love letter to the spaghetti westerns. We like to refer to it as a SpaghettiOs western.
I like that.
And it was just great to work with Cain Carreras, the Puppet Master, El Triste again. And we got to work with the Bob Baker Theater, which is kind of like a landmark here in Los Angeles. They're the only remaining Marriott theater in Los Angeles. And so that was a real honor to work with them.
Before we dig into the work, I just want to know, are there any milestone moments since the last time we talked? Anything that's really kind of elevated your game as a filmmaker? Just maybe changes in life?
I mean, yeah, all of the above. I'll just say that you know, I'm just really in love with the work more than ever. With right after Nobody's Clown, with Who Made You You by Los Yesterdays, I got to work with Frankie Quinones. Just a great, very talented actor, comedian. You know, he's one of those guys that you know, he's known as a comedian in his comedy, but I mean, I think he's a great dramatic actor. That was an elevation to work with someone of that caliber. Leaf Fields was another sort of milestone to work with, like, the legend in the scene. You know, that was amazing. That was a very tricky shoot. We did all that in one day, and then this latest one was it was wild, man. It was so much pre-production, so much planning, and then when you get there, everything changes. Weather, wind, you know, and you have to adapt, and that was another sort of leveling up, and just kind of you know, honing my craft, I guess you'd say.
Okay. I want to rewind back because something that really moved me, and I thought they were super dope. But talk to us about the resin toys. I think there's like almost 10 different toys. I have a list here. Hold on a second. So we've got Shock Cough Decon, Battle Tribes Vampire Hunter, and the Crystal Archer, which I thought were all like super dope. They have accessories. They're hand painted. And I mean, I knew you were talented with the work that I saw with the El Triste adapters, obviously the music videos. But where did this kind of come from, this idea to create these action figures? And I kind of want to dig into, where did this come from? Was this something that you've always had a passion for? What inspired you to kind of create these? And even talk to us about, you know, your vision, what you were imagining. I'm sure you kind of you turn into a little kid when you're seeing these things come to life.
Yeah. It's something that just as far back as I could remember, I've been into. I mean, I think I have a photo on my wall of me at like 3 or 4 years old with my Star Wars collection, and what's interesting is I don't know if it was like programming by George Lucas or what have you, but just to get like the play sets of those toys and the figures, and you set up scenes, and you use your imagination, and you literally are it's like you're becoming a filmmaker in a sense, where you're doing scenes, and you're setting things up and blowing them up or whatever, and it's like almost working with like miniature sets and things like that. So I just feel that there it's just part of the path for me, the toys, and it's all my mother's fault. My mom bought me most of those toys, and so I associate they just make me feel warm inside when I see those things, because I just remember like, oh, I did really good on a test, and so we got to go to Kmart, and I got like a Return of the Jedi figure and things like that. And I love the art direction of them. I'm a big fan of the 80s aesthetic in general,
Yeah.
but I just love how a lot of these toys were toys before they were movies or comic books or anything like that. So it's like a toy designer or someone who had an idea came up with this, and then it launched, these franchises. You know what I mean? And then as far as making them now as an adult, it's just something that I feel like I love being a filmmaker. I love directing on set. That's the biggest thrill for me, is actually making the film. But then once the film is done, it kind of only exists on a screen, you know?
Yeah.
And so I like to create, it's like another part of my brain where I like to create things with my hands that live in a physical existence. And so it's kind of the best of both worlds for me.
Mm. Where does the body, the name of like the Crystal Archer come from? Because as you were talking, I'm gonna date myself. I remember those tiny Star Wars figurines that had a flat base that would stand up. They were maybe hand painted. I don't know. It
Sure.
was like mass production. But I also remember like GI Joes
Yeah.
and He-Man. And when
Yeah.
I see the Crystal Archer, I thought of He-Man almost.
Yeah.
So when you're sitting there, are you drawing it first? Do you have this vision in your mind of what you want? And how does it all come out? I mean, they're amazing looking
Yeah.
toys. You've got things that are translucent,
Yeah.
opaque. There's things that are glowing. I mean,
Yeah. So the Crystal Archer in particular, that's an interesting thing, because those bodies, they are He-Man inspired, and they're from a toy line called Battle Tribes. Go to spymonkeycreations.com, check out Battle Tribes, check out Battle Tribes on my site, and so those are like very limited edition runs, actually mass produced in China. All right. Now, when I say mass produced, I'm like talking like under 300
okay,
per release. Okay.
yeah,
But I'm not hand painting them. I'm sort of designing them, sending them to a factory, and then getting them back, which is a really another whole interesting kind of ball of wax. That Crystal Archer in particular, that's a Battle Tribes figure body, and then I made the resin heads, and I painted that little patch on his eye and everything
okay,
like that. And that was sort of me getting into that world of toys produced in a factory, but maybe I could hand make an accessory or a head or something like that. And the reason why you recognize that Crystal Archer figure is because that is an homage to a toy line called Crystar, and they were translucent crystal warriors.
okay.
And the bad guys were these like lava rock guys, and so it's a whole crystal versus rock lava kind of theme. And it was also a Marvel comic,
Oh,
and so that was an homage. The Vampire Hunter, that's an original figure that I designed. And
oh,
then the Shakoth figure is it's a total tribute to like the Dungeons and Dragons, like bigger non-articulated figures. That I had 3D sculpted. I didn't 3D sculpt it. I had a 3D sculptor create it. We had a prototype printed, and now I hand cast those and I hand paint those. And those are very limited edition. Those are about, I might make 50 in a run tops, because they're very labor intensive.
I was gonna
but I
how
enjoy
long
it.
does it take to go from cradle to grave when you get everything, you assemble, you do the piece, you paint it? How many hours are we talking?
So if I already have like the form, the prototype of it, I could do a release in like, maybe a few months, maybe 3 months. I could cast them, I could paint them, and I could box them. When you get into, from scratch where you're designing it, I worked with an illustrator. His name is Benjamin Mackey. Check out Benjamin Mackey on Instagram. He's the dinosaur king. And so I since I was making a creature, a monster, I was like, I want Mr. Ben Dinosaur Mackey to help with the design work. And then you go with a 3D sculptor. Then you have to find a 3D print company to print the prototype, and then I make molds off that prototype and physically make them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
Okay.
for all you record collectors, this is Toys 101.
I mean, I'll tell you what I'm getting at here is like, so after you're done with the production line, are you taking these places and showcasing them, selling them? How do people find out about them or even know that they exist?
So I do kind of toy themed or design themed conventions. There's one called Designer Con that used to be in Anaheim every year. This year it's in Las Vegas. I'm very excited. It's going to be November 15th and 16th, I believe. And so I'm prepping some new figures for that convention. And it's kind of like it goes from like, toy designers in Japan that are very revered come into town, and like Real X Head, and then there's all the way up to like Shepard Fairey is like signing prints. So it's this big, it's this like big designer toy convention. And then there's other kind of toy conventions around the country. I had a lot of fun at PowerCon. They didn't get to do that this year, but I hope they bring it back. That's in Columbus, Ohio. I never thought Columbus, Ohio would be like so much fun, but it really was.
There's a lot going on in Ohio.
I guess so. So yeah, there's conventions, but really it's your online presence. It's kind of how hard you work with promoting the things that you make, and that's kind of the path I've been taking so far. Friends have talked to me about, well, when are you going to make something that you could like really mass produce, like blow up, like, and it's on the way. You know what I mean? It's in the works.
That's awesome. Well, I'm really glad we got to talk about that, because I was curious all this time. I saw these beautiful, figures coming out.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I didn't know that. Like, what else is he cooking up? But about a month ago, you dropped this bad boy right here. And I was so excited for this because, I wanted to feel it again. Like when the 45 came out, the music video, and then we got the adapter. And I remember at one point you had maybe mentioned that perhaps there was going to be a female version of El Triste. But we got the Rebel. We got the Rebel, and it's in gold.
You mean La Smiley?
La Smiley, yes.
Yeah.
It's in gold, like the first edition of El Triste.
Yep.
I want you to talk about what inspired this, because you probably could have gone a few different directions. And I mean, the removable hat.
Yeah. So the removable hat is just out of functionality. The 45 won't fit over the sombrero.
I learned that.
Yeah, and so really what it is. It's a tribute to Zapata, Emilio Zapata, and the Mexican Revolution. And
Okay.
the whole music video is it's a nod to the Mexican Revolution.
Was did Los Yesterdays take any interest in like the Rebel? Any inspiration from them, or because one of the next questions I wanted to kind of get into was how do you make sure that the music video maps to the music, the lyrics, and then of course there's that visual that we get. So talk to us about how you kind of tie all that together.
Okay. So specifically with Love is a Game for Fools, the minute I heard it, it just felt like a Western to me.
Yeah.
And I believe it's called trio music. And it's a total mashup of trio music and soul music. And I love The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. That's one of my favorite Westerns.
Okay.
And the thing that I really love about it is you have these fictional characters. You have Blondie, you have Tuco, you have Angel Eyes, and the backdrop of the whole thing is historically accurate. Though it's all during the Civil War, the American Civil War, right? So you have the North fighting the South. And amongst that chaos, you have this story of these three guys trying to find this gold, right? This buried gold. And so, Los Yesterdays, Chicano Soul Band, the song had a very sort of Mexican musical roots.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, maybe this could be my puppet, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, but instead of placing it in the Civil War, we'll place it during the Mexican Revolution.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's fantastic. Now, are you planning on doing other variants of the Rebel like we saw with El Triste, or different experience? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Halloween's coming.
Ooh. Man. Okay. All right. Well, that's an exclusive, right there.
Yeah. That's an exclusive,
Halloween.
right?
Okay.
And then what's another Mexican themed holiday?
Cinco de Mayo.
Around Halloween?
Not around Halloween. Day of the Dead.
Day of the Dead.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
My mind is spinning right now.
Yeah. So there's your exclusive. I'm working on a Day of the Dead version of the Rebel adapter, and you guys should see something in the next few weeks. I mean, it's right around the corner. So
I got to break away for a second, and
okay.
I need to ask you, because when the pack showed up, man, I said, "Damn, this is heavy. Like what's in there?"
Mm-hmm.
And you said this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is this what I think it is? Like, is this the actual mold right here?
Yes. Yeah. That's the actual mold that I would use to make the El Triste record adapters. And once they kind of wear out, you can recycle them. You can kind of chop them up and like throw them in the next batch or whatever. But I thought if anyone would appreciate that, I mean, you don't get any more rare than that. That is the actual mold.
No, I mean, this is crazy. I mean,
yeah,
and
it probably has a couple gold flakes in it. That was probably from the gold first edition.
Oh, wow. I can see that. My God.
Yeah.
Man. So do you have like just a grip of these all over the house?
I mean, at certain points I do,
yeah.
But I recycle them. And so if you cut them up into like little 1/4-inch pieces and then you throw them in with the silicone, you're actually saving, silicone. You're actually saving materials by recycling them. So there was a time when I probably had, 25 of them. Oh. Now I might have 8 of them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was there anything different about the process when you were making El Triste versus the Rebel? any new like techniques maybe you learned perhaps that factored into the Rebel versus El Triste and that experience in terms of creating it, or not
Yeah,
really?
no, absolutely. You know, you find out things through trial and error, and I've been able to sort of perfect the process.
Yeah.
I'm much more efficient at it. Um, the El Triste was hand sculpted by an artist named Vinny Chav.
I
He's an
remember that.
LA he's an LA based sculptor, and then the Rebel that's digitally sculpted by a guy named Anthony Coffey. I think he goes by Pixel Dimensions
Okay.
online. But yeah, yeah.
Because I noticed the detail right away, and
Hmm.
I was like, man, I'm like, you know, he's elevated the game, but you can see the detail
Hmm.
and the lines and everything like that that just really make this stand out.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. And those are available at losyesterdays.com, by the way, everyone.
why aren't they on the Toy Raider site?
They will be.
Okay.
They will be.
Okay.
Yeah, they're part of a bundle to get the 45. So you can get the Los Yesterdays 45 single. It's got Love is a Game for Fools on one side. It's got the instrumental of the new version of Nobody's Clown on the other side. And
That's
then you
sick,
get
by
the
the way. I love that version.
yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
Um, let's talk about creative process for directing the music video for soul acts like Los Yesterdays and Lee Fields. I think like one of the first things I wanted to dig into is what's it like working with Lee versus Los Yesterdays?
Yeah, so with Lee is just down for whatever, really, and it's like hanging out with your grandpa, and I mean that in the most positive
Not
way
for sure.
possible. I mean I would have to be reminded to go to set because I'm like in the green room, you know, listening to these amazing stories by Lee Fields. Lee Fields, by the way, he thinks that In-N-Out Burger is the greatest burger in the world. In the world. And he wants to sing the In-N-Out theme song. He's like, he's like, you know, trying to. He loves them so much. He wants to sing their theme song. And so
I love that.
just talking to him about things like that and being on the road and he's just a very sweet gentleman.
Yeah.
And so that was more of like working with Daptone more so than Lee Fields, you know.
Okay.
It was like going through the concept with everybody at Daptone, getting everything approved that way, and then Lee coming in and us just kind of you know, filming it. Los
Okay.
Yesterdays, on the other hand, Vic Benavides is a great creative partner of mine. And
Mm.
so there is a lot of pre-production with Vic and I, and a lot of the like if you notice, like we both co-write the scripts or the screenplay for the videos, and a lot more pre-production, a lot more planning, and it's just, you know, and we enjoy the process greatly. So that's basically the difference between like Los Yesterdays and like the Lee Fields project.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In terms of the cast,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of the locations, I would imagine that that's got to be pretty important to you, because the minute that you realize you're going to you know, take on this job of telling their story through filmmaking,
Mm-hmm.
you're envisioning certain places,
Mm-hmm.
probably different textures, temperatures, all of that factors in. And then there's also the cast of characters.
Mm-hmm.
What comes to mind when you think about these videos, specifically for Los Yesterday? Because
Okay.
I love the cameos. I
Mm.
even like before I saw your videos, and I would think about like what hip hop looked like in the 90s.
Yeah.
Well, before we had the internet, and you think about like, oh, that's East Coast hip hop. Someone's on a stoop, you know, big jackets, all that stuff. Um, what are you envisioning when you're thinking about these videos and those people there? I mean, you had some
Mm-hmm.
big names
Yeah.
from, I would say, the Rare Soul community,
Yeah.
from Angel Baby to, I think Danny Gascon was there, Noriega. The
Mm-hmm.
list goes on.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that and the importance that it plays in telling the story.
Well, when Noriega specifically, he's a homie. He's a good friend, and we just thought he'd make a great bartender. He just has the look. And then as far as like Trish or Angel Baby, that's all Benavidez. That's all Vic. And I don't know if he's thinking of like the hip hop cameos or anything like that. But I mean, definitely especially with Nobody's Clown. I didn't really have time to think about that stuff. And he was just like, hey, I'm gonna have Trish come over, and she's got these beautiful tattooed hands. Let's make her be the puppeteer in the video. And the same thing with Who Made You You is it was really Vic's vision to create that scene and cultivate that scene.
Okay.
Yeah. Whereas
And
I'm more concerned about the actors playing the parts, sort of thing.
so
Yeah.
how are you guiding these individuals that aren't really actors? Like what kind of conversations do you have? When I think about the bar scene,
Yeah.
Mr. Keone's in there and
Yeah.
all that, what are you guiding them to do essentially?
Well, Angel Baby and Noriega, they were probably the only non-actors that actually had like a significant part.
Okay.
And we just I mean, Angel Baby, like that's what he does. So it was like it was no problem for him to introduce Frankie, And then we knew Mike Noriega was gonna be fine. Mike Noriega was fantastic, honestly. I would cast him in another project, in a kind of similar position because he looked great. I didn't tell Mike anything actually. And he had the the towel over the shoulder. That was all him. And like I think I told him is like just be consistent with your movements. If you serve this person a drink, then on the next take do the same thing just for continuity's sake. That was really my only advice to Mike. And then the rest of the non-actors were just they were just really great extras, background people, and they just did a fantastic job.
How long is a typical shoot? Is it like an hour, 4 hours, full day? What does that look like?
Yeah. So Who Made You You was like 2 easily 8-hour days, maybe 10 hours for me.
Wow.
Yeah. And I wish I had more, really. I wish I had, because it was really great to work with Frankie. And we didn't even have like hangout time, which I wish we did, because we were under the gun. We had a serious deadline because the 45 was coming out, and Frankie was like, I think the next day he had to go start filming This Fool season 2. And it was a real stroke of luck that we got him for that weekend, and it all worked out. And then Nobody's Clown was 4 days, like full days, like 8 to 10 hour days. And then it was the same thing with Love Is a Game for Fools. Even though it's like an under 3 minute it's an under 3 minute song. But there was so many set pieces and filming in the desert. Man, I've never filmed in a desert before. Day 1 it was 96. It was 96 degrees.
Ooh.
And we didn't really know what we were getting into, and then we found out that in this particular part of, I think it was, we're up near Lancaster, right around 2 p.m. the wind just picks up like crazy, and then all those puppets are on strings, so they're all going sideways. And you're trying to film, and so we would have people helping by like holding up like almost like big pieces of plywood off camera just to block the wind.
Oh my God.
So the puppets would be straight. And so we really had to deal with the elements there, and it actually forced us to do an extra day. But it just, I think it came out like so fantastic. I'm so proud of that one. I'm proud of all of them, but you know, this is the latest one, and so you know,
Yeah.
this is the one that's fresh in my mind.
No, absolutely. I'm someone that really
Vic
appreciates.
is correcting us. Look at Vic is on there. It was Rosamond,
Shout out to Beth.
not Lancaster. It was Rosamond.
I love that. I love that. Now, I'm somebody that appreciates the journey more than reaching the destination.
Me too.
I was going to say, what is it for you, and what are the milestone moments when you reflect on all the videos? I know that, you know, Nobody's Clown, that was a special one. That was the first one.
Mm-hmm.
The views were insane on that. Um, but then like I said, who made you?
Yeah.
I love that video too, and yet it's not quite as motion picture like with all the characters, the puppets
Mm-hmm.
and everything like that, the different scenes. What are those milestone moments for you? What do they look like? Is it simply finishing? Is it an aha moment on set?
The aha moments on set are fantastic. That is a definite high. And what I'll specifically say with Love is a Game for Fools, that was probably I did the most planning. I never had a tighter shot list before because we had to. We had a lot of puppeteers. We had a lot of set changes. We had to work with the elements. And so I had a very tight shot list, a very tight outline. But then, you know, I think to any young director, what you have to do is you have to be completely prepared, and but at the same time, also be prepared to throw it out the window if you have to, for something better.
Fail
Right?
fast.
Yeah. Don't just think on your feet, and if something is happening on set that is better than what is on the page, you have to honor that, and you have to have the foresight to see that. When I was a younger filmmaker, I think I would approach things a little too like bullheaded, and I would be like, no, this is how we're gonna do it. And yeah, that was cool, but it says here we do it this way. Whereas now I'm way more open to collaboration, and that's another high is just instead of kind of ordering people what to do, you let them, you hire them for a reason,
Yeah.
right? Let them do their thing, you know, like Frankie, like he was off leash. He was off leash, you know. He knew where he had to be. He was very professional, but there was no like it's Frankie. Just let Frankie be Frankie. You know what I mean?
So no
And so
script or anything. He just kind of came in and did his own thing, essentially.
no. I mean, we would discuss every scene and everything, but there was never a time where, you know, like Frankie didn't elevate it, you know, and that's why you hire him is to have that, and to not let that happen is doing the whole project a disservice.
Yeah. I remember back in the day when you know we would get DVDs and stuff. You'd get all this bonus footage, and one of my favorite movies of all time is Taxi Driver, directed by
Yeah.
Scorsese.
Yeah.
And I remember watching the bonus footage, and they were talking about how he would do certain shots. And there's one in particular when Travis Bickle is going to apply for the job at the taxi company. But he does this thing where he pans away from Travis, and you kind of get to experience the culture, the environment of where everybody's pulling up in their cabs. Maybe they're leaving. Maybe there's a couple people talking on the side. What are those moments for you as a filmmaker that really stand out, or those techniques that maybe, you know, you might say, that's a David Brocca shot right there. Kind of that brand recognition, though, essentially,
Yeah.
right? What is that for you, as I kind of described that about Scorsese and those shots where he's kind of doing something that is maybe out of the ordinary a bit, or something that we don't see? I know back then they had kind of talked about that being something that was really different at the time, and he wanted to let us into that world so we knew what it was like. Can you talk about that at all in terms of your style?
Yeah, you know, like as far as a particular shot,
Yeah.
if I have one, I'm unconscious of it.
Okay.
I really think I just really focus on telling a good, complete story,
Hmm.
have a good ending. There's so many projects out there that, you know, they're just so great until the third act, and then they just kind of unravel. And then, you know, you spoke about Taxi Driver in particular. So I remember telling Gabe Roth. Gabe Roth did the bass line on "Who Made You You," and that beginning bass line is like boom, 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 and it reminds me of Taxi Driver. That slow boom, 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 and I told him about that, and he
Yeah.
was like, "Wow!" He was like tripping out. He's like, "I never had that in mind." So when you watch the opening of "Who Made You You," it's a total tribute to Taxi Driver.
No shit.
You have the dolly shots, you have the slow dolly shots of the audience. Frankie's on stage. It opens from behind. The titling "Who Made You You" is kind of like an 80s sitcom kind of thing. So it makes me happy that you referenced Taxi Driver, because the whole beginning of "Who Made You You" is definitely inspired by Taxi Driver.
Holy cow. Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely didn't put that together. But I think as I was watching the videos and even, you know, looking up the films on YouTube, I'm
Yeah.
like, there's always this direct shot. You're never like concealed. There's no mystery around things. Like there's the car scene and then the glove box opens and it's directly there, and then the
Yeah.
music video, like from the arms coming off to the sword, it's always right in the game,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And so I needed to kind of get that lens from you on maybe techniques or styles. Who's someone that David Brocca was inspired by? That there's maybe certain techniques that moved you or anything like that. Like, who are your role models or kind of heroes in the film space?
Yeah. You know, definitely Martin Scorsese. You know, when you brought up that example of how at the beginning, De Niro, Travis Bickle is getting interviewed for the job, and as he's talking, the camera pulls away, and it's like looking at them like cleaning up the cars and fixing the cars. Like that's exactly what I did at the beginning of "Who Made You You." You have Frankie talking,
Yeah.
and then it cuts to, and he's still talking over the shot, the people in the crowd watching him, and it's all slow dolly stuff. And I didn't write it that way, which is kind of wild. It just kind of happened. And so I think that like a lot of my influences are just kind of like deep seated, you know, programming, or it's just like I didn't say we're gonna make "Who Made You You" like Taxi Driver, and I didn't write it that way, and I didn't have it in my mind. But the beginning is kind of like the beginning of Taxi Driver. Scorsese is always a big one. I'm an Italian American. He's an Italian American, and so with like my grandmother and my family, it was kind of like, oh wow, like this is what David is trying to do. He's trying to do something like this, and so they could relate to that, and they could relate to his films. And Clint Eastwood is another influence as a director.
Sure.
Um, a guy by the name of Nicholas Winding Refn, who one of his films called Bronson. I took a lot of inspiration from Bronson, which is about the most violent criminal in Great Britain.
Yeah.
And but there's this whole sort of like kind of opera scene where he's on stage telling a story, and that's what I used for Nobody's Clown, where El Triste is on the stage in front of the other puppets with the very kind of harsh lighting and things like that. Let's see, Winding Refn. Contemporary, like right now. Oh, I'm just trying to think of. I mean, of course, Quentin Tarantino. If you're a filmmaker,
Yeah.
you're kind of, you have to be affected by Quentin Tarantino. His stuff is brilliant. Again, you know, we did Love Is a Game for Fools with a sort of historical background, just like Inglourious Bastards
Mhm.
or Django Unchained.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so,
yeah.
so Tarantino is another big influence. But the Sadfi brothers, okay, here we go. The Sadfi brothers, who did Uncut Gems and Good Time,
Mhm.
they're a really great young contemporary directors. And God, yeah. We'll just leave it at John Carpenter. I like John Carpenter's films as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Couple more questions around the film space. Do you ever look at like music videos and kind of imagine, oh man, I would do it differently?
Yeah.
Are there certain genres, songs, or artists that you see in something you're like, oh man.
Yeah. I mean, are there are music videos that I pitched for,
Okay.
and for whatever reason, it didn't work out. And then I see that music video, and I was like, yeah, I would have done that differently. I mean, definitely that specifically. Then there are music videos that come out and just like blow my mind. And music videos have a lot of freedom in the sense of doing things different and doing things new. Whether you like it or not, we're going to see a lot of AI generated music videos. I think that's the space where it's really going to start. And I just talked to a contemporary singer songwriter who is using some AI in their music video. And so yeah, music videos are just a great creative sort of canvas, I think, that is a lot less restrictive than like a television show or a film.
Mm.
Mhm.
Now, do you think AI is a good thing? For yourself, for folks that work in your industry. I know that when I think about what I'm doing with work
Yeah.
and the way that I mean, I use AI for almost everything.
Just this year, would you say?
I I started as the tooling became more robust and
Yeah.
reliable.
Yeah.
I started to maybe use it last year, but definitely now. I mean, shoot, if I had to write you a message, I might say something like, "I want to write, David a
Yeah.
message, include this thing here, do that," and like in no time it spits it out. I even think about like when I'm crunching data.
Yeah.
I mean, the way that it can put together
Mm-hmm.
information.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say it's 100% accurate or
Right.
the way that you might want it. You might have to mold it and shape a little bit. But yeah, I use it for just about everything. And I think about the art space a lot, whether it's
Yeah.
music, because we're hearing Frank Sinatra, singing over that kind of instrumentation, which is
Yeah.
crazy. We're seeing the videos, like you said. And I think last year, when I had interviewed Canyon, their album cover came from AI,
Mm-hmm.
and so I want to know what that means to you. In this space,
Yeah.
is it good? Is it not good? Is there a limit to it?
So with AI particularly, you said like when I send a message, I'll use AI. Every time I've used AI to try to like send an email, like I don't know if it's me, but like when I read it back, it's like I read it back in a robot voice.
Okay.
Like, hello, it's very pleased to meet you. We understand that blah 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 blah. And I'm just like, it sounds so robot. It sounds so phony. It sounds so disingenuous.
I got a tip for you. I got a tip for you
Yeah.
because so I have a certain way of just writing normally as myself, and my team is
Mm-hmm.
used to that. And somebody said to me, they're like, it doesn't sound like you. It doesn't
Right.
sound like you in that
Right.
email. That's not your writing style. And so one of the things that I do that you could do,
Yeah.
I tend to favor an energetic tone.
Mm-hmm.
So I would always say at the end, use an energetic tone. If I'm writing to leadership, use a natural or direct tone. And it completely changes the whole vibe. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I got to stop using the energetic tone. I mean, that matches me, but I guess,
Yeah. Yeah. You know, the visuals that I've seen, there's always something a little off with
yeah.
it. And I don't know
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
if it's like the physics of things, or how face moves and things like that. And I'm really sort of I'm a little I don't know what the word is, but like my concern is things coming out that lack emotion, like human emotion.
Okay.
Because Guillermo del Toro, okay, shame on me. Why didn't I say name him as one of my big influences? Guillermo del Toro is making Frankenstein right now, and they asked him about AI, and immediately he said, "Hey, AI can make like a good screensaver, but it can't tell a story. It's emotionless." And of course they're going to perfect that. And all I can say is like, we'll wait and see. And it is scary. A part of it is scary. I mean, like, have any of these guys seen the Terminator, the James Cameron? There's another big influence, you know,
Yeah.
1984 Terminator. And so, you know, I'm not into it maybe as much as you are. I think your day job is with computers, right? Is it computer programming, and like, are you writing code and things like that?
I'm not writing code, but it's communications.
Yes.
It's I would say it's messaging,
Yeah.
and so you know that's probably the limit of it. I've tried to create, I would say, banners or posters,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because at Microsoft we have this site. It's called Branding Central.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where all the photo, everything lives. And it must be to that. But I wanted to see, like, man, let me make a poster for this.
Mm-hmm.
And every time it would misspell a word, or
Mm-hmm.
to your point, like there's like a chunk missing out of like maybe the bottom of the square or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've tried to explore that way, but it's just not, I don't trust
Mm-hmm.
it. I don't trust it,
Mm-hmm.
I haven't used it for really anything else. I mean, I think it's really great. For example, um, tell me everything there is to know about David Brocca,
Mm-hmm.
and it will instantly spit up from all these different websites.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you did interview, whether it
Yeah.
was maybe IDBM, that page, maybe it's
Yeah. Yeah.
Toylater, but it's a great way to get a lens into something where I think 3 years
Yeah.
ago
Yeah.
I was searching on Bing, David Brocca, going to
Yeah. Yeah.
YouTube, interview, and it was this arduous process. I loved it, but now when I can just do this,
Mm-hmm.
and it spits out all that, I'm like, oof, that's kind of nice. And
Sure.
it gives me the links to go to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me,
Yeah.
it works. I don't
Yeah.
know, if it's fully developed in other industries, or I think you have to have really powerful tooling. When
Mm-hmm.
I think about what they're putting into these data centers, and now they're talking about nuclear reactors as what is going to win the race to the best version of artificial intelligence, I mean, we're getting into big budgets and
Mm-hmm.
people with ungodly skills there. So,
And like massive computing power.
oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It'll get to the point where, it's probably going to be like the top 5 or top 10 major companies that can really compete at that level.
Mm-hmm.
Mom
Mm-hmm.
and pop can't do it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I
You
want
know
to.
what's interesting? I will say this, like with Love is a Game for Fools, it was all done with puppets and strings like that. And it was the first project that I ever put in the credits. No AI was used in the making of this video. And I did it because it's true, number one.
Right.
And number two, as a filmmaker, it may be the last time I can say that.
Wow.
You
I
know?
didn't even think about it from that lens. There's something about the charm of what we
Yeah.
do with what we have. I think, in essence, rolling up your sleeves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like AI might be able to come close to some of the work you've done, but it will never have that charm.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think, is where the line is drawn in the sand.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Yeah,
like
I
that you
mean,
did that. I like that you put that in there. I mean, shoot, God forbid someone was like, "Oh, that's probably an AI video." I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't think, I never thought that with any of your stuff, but
There were people that thought the background was green screen.
what?
I was like, that's some good green screen. I appreciate
That's
that.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah. That
That's crazy.
desert, the desert. Yeah.
Um, we talked about the toys, the adapters, directing music videos. What does David Brocca do in his spare time? After you
Oh,
finish a video, after you run through a batch of adapters or action
yeah.
figures, what are you doing?
I'm collecting action figures. Would you like
Mm.
to see some of my collection?
Well, this was supposed to be this. Yeah, this is the segue into show and tell. But I guess, like for me, are you still like a student of directing of
Oh
film?
man,
Are you thinking about that next lineup of action figures? Are you traveling to conventions? I mean, perhaps you're into action figures the way that I might want to bop around and pop into record stores.
100%, hundred
That's
percent.
crazy.
Another thing that I'm really into is arcades, like retro arcades. Like I'm actually wearing this shirt. There's this bar in Pennsylvania, and it's called Bartari, and I love the experience of going into um, these like retro arcades, almost like record stores, where you're kind of like walking back in time,
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about Dave and Buster's. I'm talking about like, places where they have the actual arcade cabinets from the 80s and you can go and play them and things like that. I'm really into whenever I travel, wherever I go, I try to see if there is an arcade, and maybe there's a game that I haven't seen, since I was like 6 years old.
Yeah.
I'm really into it. It's funny because it's like, yeah, I'm really into kind of like time traveling. Going into like a toy store, a vintage toy store, and seeing these things that were older, just like you with records or arcades. If there's a drive-in town, I'm friggin' there. I really enjoy going to the movies. And then to answer your question, like, am I still a student? I mean, I think that if you're not a student in your work, then you're not going to last long. You have to be learning all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, even with this whole AI stuff, it's like, I've messed around with Midjourney, I messed around with ChatGPT, and because I think I have to, because there are people that are becoming experts in those things, and they're going to be leading the pack. So I think you always have to be learning, but more importantly, you have to want to learn, right? If you don't have that sort of innocence of like, oh, how did they do that, or how do they figure out, how can I do that? It's just maybe you're in the wrong profession.
Mm, mm. I can embrace that, but I also remember this stage of like innocence when I first started to make beats. So naturally,
Mm,
like you get a MIDI keyboard, a DAW, digital application workstation, and you're throwing your fingers on the key, you're turning knobs and doing all this stuff. And I found that the more that I was a student in that space and learning more and more, I felt
mm-hmm,
constricted because I said things like, "Oh,
mm,
well, you're adding too much treatment on the track. There's too much in the mix. It's too
mm-hmm.
loud," or, "Well, you wouldn't use that oscillator there." And so I found myself banging my head against the wall. Did you ever feel like that as you were kind of progressing in career with filmmaking, where there was kind of a point of like, well, we didn't know what the rules were. We didn't know how to do this the right way. And so we had a lot of fun in essence. And we were exploring because we weren't necessarily sure what it
Mm-hmm.
would mean when we took it that, we shot that angle from
Mm-hmm.
this corner up high, or experimenting with different kind of lighting.
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
that been like for you?
Well, just recently with Love Is a Game for Fools, like I said, I had everything so all the particulars planned out. And then, you know, literally on set, I think we were like, wouldn't it be funny if, you know, okay, he shoots the gun out of the rat's hand, he shoots the gun out of the other rat's hand, the thing blows up, you have the mariachi player just standing there. Wouldn't it be funny if he just shot the hat off the mariachi player? Like, he didn't do anything wrong, but it immediately makes El Triste like badass. Like, he didn't have to do that. He's just kind of showing off.
Yeah.
And so that was just, you know, something that came up on set that we shot. And then we needed a reverse. And so we got one shot, and I'm like, you know, let's just have El Triste like go like, hey, like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, and now that's the nod that he gives La Smiley before they embrace. And so those were all things that weren't on the page that we discovered right there. And like I said, as a younger filmmaker, I might have been like, you know, we're a little short on time. Like, come on, guys, let's get to the next shot. And now I'm just more open to it. And I think that just going with the flow, you know, not swimming upstream against the current, that's really the most important thing you do. And let the people you hire do what they do. Don't try to constrain them.
That's super important right there.
Yeah.
That's great advice. All right, let's talk toys. What you got?
Yeah.
Show me.
Yeah. Okay. So a lot of people associate like the Raiders, the football team, like, oh, you're Toy Raider, you know, silver and black, and you know, there was a time, right, when it was like Bo Jackson, Howie Long, you know what I mean, Marcus Allen. Like, I did love those Raiders, but I'm really not I'm not the Toy Raider because of the NFL team, the Raiders. I am the Toy Raider because I love Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
That is like one of my favorite films, and it is one of my favorite toy lines. And like Indiana Jones, who goes out on these, you know, archaeological expeditions to find that relic, I kind of do the same with toys, right? And I'm sure you do the same with records, right? You're going out and you're hunting for that gem. And so, like, right behind me is a complete, like, weapons and all, Raiders of the Lost Ark collection. And I'd like to just kind of just give you guys a quick little tour right here.
Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. So, can you see that?
Maybe lower it just a little bit. Perfect.
All right.
Perfect.
All right. So that is the Raiders of the Lost Ark VHS.
Yeah.
This is the original Indiana Jones, Marion. Here we got Sala. We got Indy in his disguise.
Yeah.
And then we come down here, and this is the Well of Souls playset. I probably got this for Christmas when I was like 4 years old.
Oh my gosh.
And then here is the Streets of Cairo playset. So this is a loose set, and then this is in the box sealed set.
Oh, okay.
And then here's Indy on the Arabian horse. This is the desert convoy that takes away the Ark that he has to chase down. Right here, we have the Ark of the Covenant. We have Belloc. We have Taught, the evil Nazi. Now we got the Temple of Doom. This is like the Burger King glass that came out.
Oh, wow.
And then this set is very rare. This is the Temple of Doom set that only came out with 3 figures. It was made by LJN in like 1984, 1985. And this collection is not easy to put together.
Yeah.
And it's been like so much fun finding these and displaying these, and hence the mystery is over. That is why I go by the Toy Raider.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was looking at those action figures. I was paying attention to like the movements of how they bend, and I used to play with GI Joes. So I mean, you know, it's in. Who's your
favorite? Who was your favorite Joe?
I don't know if you remember. There were a set of twins, and they were like the villains. I don't remember what their names were, but I loved the twins.
Yes,
I thought that was really cool.
They had like a zip line. The two of them would hang on to this zip line, and they'd shoot down. Yeah, the GI Joe stuff was amazing. I'm a big Snake Eyes guy.
Oh yeah,
Love
yeah.
Snake Eyes, right?
Yeah.
And do you know the story of Snake Eyes, of the toy?
No.
So you have all these toys, you have all these individual characters, right?
Yeah.
And then they were like, okay, well, we want to add one more figure, but we don't want to pay for like all this additional sculpting. So like, all right, let's just sculpt a new head and just paint one of them black.
No.
And he's like the ninja of the group. And then Snake Eyes goes on to be like probably the coolest character of all of them.
The name stands out, but I didn't know that background on it.
Yes, yeah. So it was just an add-on figure that they didn't want to spend the money on sculpting, and he's probably one of the most beloved characters of like the whole series.
Did he have sunglasses or something on?
Yes.
Okay.
He had a whole visor.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
That's crazy because you didn't really see a lot of black action figures back in
Yeah.
the day like that.
Yeah.
Man. You know, another set of toys that I really loved was like He-Man. Like I had Castle Grayskull.
Mm-hmm.
I had like the green and orange, like Liger maybe it was, and
Yeah.
I had all that stuff. And I wish I would have kept it because like back then, like, you know, it was like, oh, I'm too old. I don't play with toys anymore. Give them to Johnny down the road, and you know that was the end of it. Now, one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, as you were showing us the Raiders of the Lost Ark action figures behind you, I immediately went into like collector mode, and I'm like, wait a minute, like are they sealed? Are there cases? Like, you know, do
Yeah.
they all that stuff? Like, talk to me about how toys are kind of valued, and I want to try to like, you know, listen in from the ear of like a record collector. So
Yeah.
what makes something mint, sought after, really expensive versus not really expensive?
Yeah.
Is there like a Discogs for toys?
Probably eBay. eBay is probably your best.
Oh,
You know, that's what I would compare it to, and
okay.
that's how you really measure the market of what are things worth. And I'm sure just like the record scene, the real popular albums or the most popular characters aren't worth as much as the ones that weren't so popular, right? Where they didn't press a lot because you know, there wasn't the demand. It's the same thing with the toy scene. Is like, you know, you might have a figure that is like super lame in the storyline, but it was only released in Argentina or something, and like those figures are, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars. Like there was a Star Wars cartoon called Droids, and it didn't do very well. Although there was a character that had an orange mohawk, right? And I remember I loved that character so much that I remember going to the barber with my mom, bringing the figure, and saying, "I want my haircut." That's right. I wanted the mohawk, and
Yeah.
they were like, "It's not happening, kid. Like, like no way." They were a little bit too conservative, I guess. But that toy line, the cartoon got canceled, and they had a couple toys that they were going to do for a second series, and they made a few thousand, and they ended up just like dumping them in Argentina.
Wow.
And there's a character named Vlix, and there's, you know, very 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 few of them, and they're probably over $10,000 each. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild. Do you come across knockoffs or like repros?
So what's wild is like the people repo them now. Like I'll take an old He-Man head and like kind of make like an art piece with it, you know. But the knockoffs, like the Star Wars figures that, you know, maybe someone in the States bought, you know, like a stormtrooper, and then went back to Poland, and then in the little Polish toy factory, they made a mold off that stormtrooper, and then they tried to sell it as like, you know, space soldier.
Oh wow.
Those knockoffs are worth thousands and tens of thousands of dollars, like on the card. those are worth a lot of money. So, and even like the He-Man toys, right? Someone would come here to the States and take a He-Man toy, right? And then go to Mexico, and they would make a mold, and they would do like a blow mold, it's called, where it's like hollow. And so there are like these hollow kind of, very rudimentary painted He-Man figures that were made in Mexico, knockoffs. They're worth a lot of money. Yeah.
This is all like so interesting.
Hey, I'm glad you're enjoying it,
man.
Yeah.
So let's see here. I asked you last time you were here if there's a quote or mantra that is really moving you. What would those words be today? What's something that
Oh man,
close to the heart, or that you think about? Good times, bad times.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something that Vic shared with you. Maybe something he was saying on set. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's almost cliche, and I wish I could come up with a better one, but it's just so important just to be grateful, and to be grateful. You can totally change your mindset, and you could just totally change your emotions, and if you're just sort of grateful versus miserable, and it's not about what it's not about what you're getting, it's about appreciating what you have. And so I think that just comes with age and experience and loss, and it's to be grateful. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. I'm trying to work with my daughter on the whole mindfulness thing and being grateful, but there's like this intersection with kids, and they don't really understand it as much as we try.
Yeah.
We show the book. But it's such an important thing because, I think that it's so easy for things not to go your way, but how do you show up when they don't? And
Yeah.
the act of showing up with that best version of yourself is so important. I don't think you can get there unless you're grateful.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that you shared that. What's next for you, man? What are your plans for the rest of the year?
Yeah.
How can we stay up to date with what you're doing?
Yeah, so I'm actively talking with a few bands right now. For the videos I've done, versus the meetings I've had, it would blow your mind. It's like
that.
I talk to some very, very interesting artists about stuff, and if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. If it's not, it's not. But I'm very grateful to get those meetings, and when there's a fit, there's a fit, and so I'm actively negotiating future projects.
Very good.
November 14th, 15th, and 16th, I will be in Las Vegas for Designer Con.
Okay.
I'm going to have my adapters there. I'm going to have my action figures there. I'm going to launch a new action figure there that I'm very excited about. So toys, negotiating that next project. I'm also developing a new documentary project. And so I just like to kind of keep balanced with all those things. And dude, I'm just so happy to speak to you again.
Yeah.
And you better reach out to me next time you come to LA.
I will. I always want to see people, when I come out, and when I'm on a family trip, it's just one of those things. But I'll tell you what's funny about the whole Lee Fields thing. When I got to Glenmont, California, one of the first places we went was In-N-Out.
Yeah.
And I just remember taking this full-size burger, and I was like, man, you don't get this at McDonald's or Burger King. No. So when you said that Lee Fields said that, In-N-Out was like his favorite spot, that's how I felt about that burger.
Yeah.
I mean, the shake could maybe be a little better, but the burger, my goodness, we definitely gotta connect next time I'm out there. And I know we had talked about maybe collaborating with some doc stuff around El Triste, and I want to be a part of that with you.
Good. I want you to be a part of it. I think that you know, you know, you mentioned that I had some influence on the scene, but I think you have a very big influence on the scene, and I think people that are in the scene really appreciate what you're doing. And I hope you keep doing it, man. And congratulations on, you know, I heard your work is going very well, but we want to keep you around, man.
I'll always be here in some capacity. You know, I just feel like the way that I experienced everything so quickly and meeting people online, you know, in the virtual world, like I just and the clip at which I do
Yeah,
this, I could never imagine like walking away.
good.
And I'm grateful, you know, for our friendship. I've always
Mhm,
said that, you know, you've played a big part in my story, and
mhm.
I wanted to make a point to just talk about the importance that you play for the community through the videos. I think visuals take the music to a completely different level. It's just
Mhm.
like another way to experience it, but you're bringing us closer.
Mhm.
And like I said, there's something about the charm, this kind of natural holistic thing with your videos where we can relate and we see people like Noriega behind the bar,
Yeah, yeah,
see Angel Baby. Um, you know, we see the puppets. That was something, nobody was doing that. Nobody was
yeah,
putting puppets in music videos. And you've taken the time to do this.
yeah.
You've been here for years, and I appreciate you. I know that everyone on the scene does, and
Mhm.
I will never forget the excitement around that Nobody's Clown video and the adapters. That was such a special time because I haven't been here for a long time, but I know that we haven't seen anything like that, and
Yeah.
so I don't think we'll see anything like that with the care and quality that you kind of bring to the
Mm.
table with that. So
Mm.
I thank you. We will
Yeah.
continue to keep in touch.
Yes.
Any last minute words for our viewers, that those that'll stream this afterwards?
Ooh. Hey, you know, I don't know. Thank you for having me. You know, please keep it up. You know, thank you everyone for showing the support of the music videos. As of this taping, Nobody's Clown is at 17 million views. And I remember, you know, not to take this any longer, but just really quick, like I remember when Nobody's Clown came out, and I think we were at like 500,000
Yeah,
views.
yeah,
And Aesop Rock came out with the music video Long-Legged Larry.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. And I saw that video, you know, the stop motion frog, and it's so cute and it's so catchy. And it was like, in a week, it was at 1 million views. And I was like, okay, don't let your head get so big. Like, this is what a real music video can do, right? So fast forward now, Long-Legged Larry. How many views do you think it has?
Maybe 10.
3 million. And Nobody's Clown has 17. And that is a testament to this scene. That is a testament to like the whole like Chicano culture that really embraced it. It's a testament to my brother Victor Benavidez and Los Yesterdays
We love Vic. We
for
love Vic.
writing that song. And you know, you gave me credit for the puppets, but that was Vic Benavidez. You know, Vic Benavidez, he had three things. He had the song, he had me, and he's like, I'm gonna reach out to this puppet master kid and see if he'll do our video. And that was the three that made it happen. So brother, thank you for having me on. It was so good to chat with you. Anytime.
I appreciate you. I want to thank everybody for tuning in for the hour and 16-minute fireside chat. This is David Brocca's second follow-up fireside chat. So there's two now that you can watch.
Yes.
And there's a lot of space between them. So I think it would be really good for you to go back there because we focused a lot on his early film work. And I think that, you know, y'all see the music videos, the adapters, but you don't really understand the brilliant mind that's behind those videos and the importance of different formats and how it reaches different people. I mean, those videos were just as important as radio and things like major distribution, man. So thank you for all you do. We'll connect in the DMs. I'll make sure that I get you a copy of this video so you can
Awesome.
repurpose and do what you need with it. But
Awesome.
thank you for being here, brother. Waxvillain, Seattle, Washington. We're out of here. Take care, everybody.